A very good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on NTA5 News at 1. I am Miriam Emekamadi. In a bid to check all forms of crime and criminality characterized with festive period and for residents to have a peaceful celebration, the Commissioner of Police FCT, Sunday Babaji, has met with divisional police officers to deliberate on some proactive policing strategies. Ayanaje Auta reports that the FCT police boss made this known during a media briefing in Abuja.
It is that time of the year again when the FCT Police Commissioner meets with divisional police officers to brief them on the command's plan to ensure a hitch-free Christmas and New Year celebration. This time, the command under the leadership of CP Sunday Babaji is deploying 1,855 police personnel in all divisions of the territory, as well as adopting ICT strategies to ensure the safety of lives and property in this season and beyond.
We have to be visible everywhere, and visibility, checkmate crimes. But what we are going to do differently this time around is we are using intelligence-led policing, and also we are exploring the services of ICT to assist in fighting crime.
This year's annual meeting also featured instructions from the police boss on how the FCT police should relate to members of the public in a civil manner. Ayanaje Auta, NTA News.
The FCT Area Council Staff Pension Board has commenced biometric verification exercise for defined benefit scheme pensioners of FCT area councils and local education authorities. Mariam George Jitobo, who visited some verification centers, has the details.
For this senior citizen, Adamu Mamman, like any other pensioner, this is not an academic exercise but an examination that gives access to his financial savings as required by the FCT Area Council Staff Pension Board.
You know, they cannot do all around what the trend is.
From my own, I thank this Minister of Federal Affairs because we have never seen 1 month that is left without paying.
They help us all the time. But our problem now, making a try for increase our money small so that everything don't cost past our power now.
The exercise is going smoothly without any problem.
The director, Nanzing Ndeng, maintains that this biometric exercise is one of the valid requirements needed to authenticate the pensioners and weed out ghost pensioners from the payroll.
The verification exercise was approved by the Honourable Minister Dr. Martin Aliu to verify pensioners under the defined benefit scheme. We advise pensioners to turn up on good time. We don't intend to waste their time, and they should abide by protocol of the committee.
This exercise, the board says, will run for 3 days across the 6 area councils. Mariam George Jitubo, NTA News.
The FCT College of Education Zuba to become University of Education. Secretary for Education Sani Dahiru El Katuzu gave this hint while briefing the media on the scorecard of the Secretariat in Abuja. Shuaibu Onozo Yakubu tells us more.
Improving teachers' welfare and their working conditions, as well as ensuring the security of pupils and students in FCT schools, are some of the measures the Secretariat will adopt to enhance the education system in the territory. On the conversion of the FCT College of Education Zuba to the University of Education, the Secretary disclosed that arrangements have been concluded to ensure the actualization of the establishment of the institution, as well as the commencement of academic activities at the FCT University of Science and Technology.
It is part of our strategic plans to accomplish the following. 1. To prioritize teachers' welfare and improve their working conditions. 2. To ensure that the security of our students, teachers, and assets are further strengthened with introduction of relevant technologies, particularly for schools in vulnerable locations. To transform FCT College of Education Zuba to FCT University of Education Zuba. To establish at least one polytechnic in the FCT.
He added that the Secretariat will begin to adopt the use of multimedia learning process through its expanded training programs, which lasted for 5 weeks in schools, while expressing concern over lack of perimeter fenced wall in some schools in the FCT. Shuaibu Onozeakubu, NTA News.
And still on education, in the 70s, one of the veritable instruments for national cohesion was the establishment of the federal government colleges, which helped to develop Nigerians' unity regardless of ethnicity and religion. The dream of every Nigerian child those days are what these students of the Federal Government College Kano class of 78 are trying to bring forth for today's Nigerian through their reunion engagement. Abdullahi Ajia has the details.
Recalling the sweet memories of their days of how the Nigerian system, devoid of sentiments, united them despite their diversities as students in the Federal Government College Kano in the 70s. This class of 78 is reuniting, flipping through the pages of history, making comparison with what is happening today.
We are a group of students that started across the country, federal government colleges, in 1973, which was actually an experiment in order to unify the country. An experiment where they had students from every part of the 12 states of the federation at the time. They had 10 students in every class from each state, so there were 120 students per class. And the idea was to bring people from different walks of life, backgrounds, into one educational facility and watch them grow together for the betterment of the nation. This experiment is what we represent today.
Those are your true friends. And then when you meet, you are excited. It recalls you back to your memory when you are young.
When we finish our last paper, everybody...
The Ecological Project Office says, despite increasing concerns from Nigerians, which stands at 2,165 requests, Ecological Project Office expresses determination to execute more projects within available resources. Putting the record straight, Permanent Secretary, Ecological Project Office, Habibullah Lawal, reveals that through the resolve of Mr. President, 19 new projects have also been approved, in addition to the over 290 awarded so far.
The federal government's share of the fund is deliberately placed under the control of Mr. President to enable prompt, effective, and emergency deployment. The office only receives requests, identifies sites, keeps records, and then advises Mr. President, as well as execute presidential approved projects.
This media interaction was to evaluate the progress made so far with the media as dependable partner in the dissemination of information and project execution of governments. The issue of more funding to address the huge ecological problems by the Ecological Office was brought to the table, urging Nigerians to be more patient and understanding with the coordination and implementation of these projects. Abdullahi Ajia, NTA News.
We'll take a break now. When we return, NTA Channel 5 News continues. Do stay with us.
Move now! The red light won't kill you! Move now!
To they disobey traffic law, they cause accidents. Me, I don't talk, say I no go dey do am again, because change begins with me.
Let's cross the other side of the road.
I will no longer endanger my life crossing the express. Instead, I will use the bridge, because change begins with me.
Oga driver, stop this bus now, won't come down. I be one carry me past where they go.
Make I dey stop anyhow for road, they cause traffic wahala and accidents. So I go dey stop for the right bus stop, because change begins with me.
Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Figures from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control (NCDC) as of 16th November 2021 indicates 238 new cases of COVID-19 in the FCT. The number of confirmed cases stands at 24,437, while active cases now 924, and the number of discharged cases stands at 23,289. And 224 deaths have been recorded in the FCT. The Environment and Climate Care Ambassador, a non-governmental organization at the forefront of climate change, is advocating the planting of 500 million trees across the nation. This is the outcome of the agreement reached at the United Nations Climate Change Conference held in Glasgow, Scotland, in Nigeria, which Nigeria is a signatory. Representatives of 36 states and the FCT converge in Abuja to deliberate further. Sefia Noma Uche reports.
Nigeria has been championing the African climate change agenda, in which she has already passed the climate change bill into law. Most speakers say there is the need to adapt accelerating action for climate resilience.
The NNDC took about agriculture, industry, fishing, but when they went there, we took 5 sectors. From there, Glasgow, 2 things were added: water and climate.
Aside the aesthetic value, the trees also provide a strong economic return, and the Earth and Climate Care says it is developing new models to promote social and environmental benefits. Safia Noma Uche, NTA News.
Trading surplus is due mainly to the increased sales of crude oil and gas by the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company, an offspring subsidiary of the NNPC, and the increased gas sales and depreciation postings big the Nigerian Gas Company. To ensure continuous supply and effective distribution of premium motor spirit across the country, a total of 1.63 billion liters of premium motor spirit, translating to 54.50 million liters per day, was supplied in June 2021. Rosemary Motlembla reporting for Business News.
The African Development Bank has announced that it is upscaling its Technologies for Agricultural Transformation (TTAT) initiative, meant to feed over 200 million Africans by the year 2025. The Vice President of the Bank on Agriculture, Human and Social Development, Bent Dunford, says the move is critical to addressing the high level of food insecurity in the continent. This was at the 18th Annual International Business Awards to recognize outstanding organizations while highlighting their outstanding contributions globally, pledging 17 billion to support food production and industrial farming. Power sector debt has risen by 11.85% in the last year, amounting to 819.97 billion naira as at August this year. Ayenajai Alta in this report says the power sector still has lingering problems plaguing the sector since it was privatized more than 8 years ago.
Since 2013, that the nation's distribution and generation companies were privatized, it generates about $3.2 billion for the federal government, as the Discos and Gencos were sold for $1.7 billion and $1.5 billion. Despondent power producers increased their debt for $18.01 billion, according to the CBN. In all, banks made loans available to the power sector. Experts, however, say if the loan becomes impaired, it might lead to increase in the risks, as these banks are likely to acquire majority stake in the Discos.
OPEC has raised its world oil demand forecast for the first quarter of 2022, but left its full-year growth prediction. For more, let's join Rosemary Moteling below.
OPEC believe the Omicron coronavirus.
Just before we go, do remember to take your COVID-19 vaccine and adhere strictly to safety protocols to keep safe. That's the news. We thank you for watching. Good afternoon.